Excited with our guest, LeBlanc and Krystal Walters. They're cannabis enthusiasts, nature enthusiasts, and above all, they love building community. So I'm really excited to speak with them today about their upcoming event in the Kootenays called the Unicorn Music Festival. And this is situated in a beautiful part of the province. For those who know British Columbia, in the Kootenays, Rosebud Lake. It's going to be fantastic. But enough about me yammering on. Let's get in and really talk about what these two visionaries are doing in the world of cannabis, in the world of music, in the world of nature and community. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you for having us. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thanks, Mark.
Well, it's always exciting to, speak with like-minded individuals who are passionate about the work that they do. And specifically, when we speak spirit plant medicine, we always talk a lot about cannabis and other plant medicines. But specifically because, we're here in Canada, cannabis is legal. And Che, you have been the founder of, I guess, the work you're doing in your farms in the Kootenays. So tell us, how did you get into this regenerative farming and building community in the way that you do?
Well, I'm actually a second generation grower. That was something my father did, and he taught me at a young age. He was kind of a jack of all trades, but one of the things he did well was cannabis and cannabis production. And so, in fact, some of my earliest memories are crawling down the rows of plants with my diaper dragging and bright lights in the sky above me. So it was just normal to me. I was just born into it, and it was just another plant and something that I really appreciated over time. And I ended up at an early age growing my own. By the time I was 13, I would sprout some seeds in my mother's basement and get caught and try again a little later. And over the years, it became my passion. And I worked a day job, but yet I couldn't wait to get home, run downstairs, see how my pets or my plants were doing, and like develop that close bond. I was self-medicating in certain ways. And so that was another aspect of that connection and the passion for the plant that really made a tight bond for us. And so I got wind that there may be a legalization or a legal platform to grow cannabis coming in Canada when I saw it happen in the States. And so I just planted a stake in the ground with the intention of getting into the legal industry. And so over a few years, I was able to develop and get
Oh, looks like we lost connection. I know there we go. We froze up there for a moment.
about that. We're off grid here, so we're on Starlink, so it's not always awesome.
That's okay. But, I get it. I was on Starlink for a while too, and I love it, but it does sometimes have connectivity things depending. So, but great. So back to wanting to get into the legal side of what we're talking about is cannabis cultivation, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So I focused on getting licensed and building a facility, building a site. And I carried in my own genetics. Breeding is something that I've been interested in doing for a long time. And so I actually ended up bringing about 600 strains into the legal market. And then we had this beautiful property, and I always wanted to demonstrate to others, connecting with nature, growing in these ways, and really celebrating this plant and beyond. And then that's kind of what evolved into this event. Really, it started as an invite only. Some of the best growers in our community would come, and it was really a cannabis cup, an invite only cannabis cup. And that was the foundation, the roots of this. And then we started to add music. And then over time, Krystal came on board. And that's when we really stepped it up into this public event and really became a very professional, and all the glory that we find from it today is because of her input and her contributions to this thing.
Beautiful. Well, Krystal, maybe tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get into the cannabis industry and, bringing new elements to the cup aspect and bringing music? Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into the topic of our conversation.
Yeah, so thanks, Mark. I was born on the East Coast of New Jersey, but quickly moved out to California, where I found my roots and established myself as a cannabis grower. And basically in the mountains of Sonoma, California, is where I found a lot of different synergies in my life that I was interested in, including permaculture and plant medicine, herbology and herbalism, and formulating with herbs, so alchemy, and just took that and was able to really create a lot of a pathway for myself, basically, to be in the cannabis industry with an impact. I had a amazing business that I ran as well there with concentrates. And that led me to be able to come to Canada, where I saw that a lot of the education was needed around cannabis and the way that people are consuming cannabis. And so I felt a need to bring my wisdom from California up to Canada, and then met Che at one of the events that he was producing, and we decided that it needed to be a ability for people in the community to come together, as well as kind of work with and look at the ways that cannabis is in the industry today is different than what we came from, which is to be able to educate people about what the information is that's out there, like different cannabinoids and other different elements of cannabis. So we saw that as a possibility with this platform, with the event, and we're able to kind of take it to the next level, which was general admission ticket sales and getting some teachers from our local community and the greater BC community to come and educate about cannabis and different other plant medicines, and as well as do the comparison, which is the part where we intake all of the different samples from people around Canada and teach people what actual connoisseur cannabis looks like and what they can look for in the stores. And yeah, and so that's the journey till this point, and have an incredible festival this year with lots of educators and a really good music lineup as well. And music has always been a part of my life. So that just naturally came with the place of fun, is some music.
That was a really big accomplishment for us to be the first legal cannabis comparison in Canada, where licensed producers and micro producers could actually enter. We worked with Russell Bennett. He actually helped create the Cannabis Act with Health Canada. So he supported us in creating this structure to be able to do that. And that was a really big milestone, something we're really proud of.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I just want to thank you both for the work that you're doing, because, since legalization happened in Canada, there's been good parts about it and some challenging parts from the legalization side and the government side, bureaucracy, all the different things that way. But what you've done, Shay, and this was where, when we were first introduced, you had sent me a video from the Growing Exposed guys, where they're interviewing you, they're on the lands, they're at your farm, and what an inspiring farm you've got there. Just the way, you call it regenerative farming, but the way that you use different plants, the way that you use nature, I think is really impactful, because like you were both saying, the history of cannabis has always been outdoors. It's only in the past how many years that it's been indoors under lights with all sorts of synthetic, fertilizers and lighting for that matter as well. It doesn't even have real sun, to having something that's growing, in the ground with all of this great nature around it. So maybe you can talk about the importance of that, especially when we talk about cannabis education, because like you said, I just want to touch on it, is people need to know this information. Whereas back in the day when I was a teenager, we were just happy to get a bag of pot for the weekend, and it didn't matter. And now you talk about craft cannabis. Well, today's the day, and it's happening, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's easy to overlook that this plant is 13.5 million years old, give or take. And in the last 50 years, we've taken our own agenda. And a lot of that is we're being forced into behind closed doors because of the legal issues. But really, this plant just wants to go back to what it knows, to being under the sun, to taking up nutrients in the way that the rest of the forest does, living in cooperation in symbiosis with all the other plants. There's a reason nobody needs to go out into the forest and spray herbicide or spread nitrogen. And it's because of this diversity and this balance that's created in those natural systems. And that's really, I guess you could say, the condensed of what is regenerative, is mimicking natural systems and growing in such a way that not only are you sustainable, but you're beyond sustainable. You're actually improving the ecosystem around you. And that's really important. I think sustainable is great. It's a wonderful step. But at the end of the day, the only way we can fix this big mess we've made on this planet is to actually start thinking repair or regenerative. So we're really excited to be able to demonstrate that, not just talk about it, but demonstrate it on our site. We bring in wonderful teachers, Josh and Kelly, Dragonfly Earth Medicine, and a whole nother group, a whole nother community of regenerative producers that really come together and help support that and teach people how to do that. But it's not just regenerative agriculture. It's really a whole way of living your life, reconnecting with nature, and really reconnecting with ourselves, because at the end of the day, we are nature as well.
I completely agree. And I think the more we can be in tune to nature, because you said something in the video, you were talking about the difference between synthetics and natural, right? All the ingredients that we put into everything. And it just had me thinking about our lives and what we eat every day, and how we have become such a consumeristic, instant self-gratification society that we don't always stop to take a look at what's sourcing all of our foods. And what I think when we get back to nature, we'll also be a lot healthier and happier. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Yeah. We can look at something, the intentions behind breeding the food that we have, and what are the boxes are looking to be checked. And I think it's really money is the driver. So shelf life, quantity, speed to harvest. These are really what's important, because it's big ag and money driving our food system, really. But if we look at nature, that's not how it works. Food density or bricks, we could look at the amount of sugars in a plant and the nutrient levels. There's a correlation between the brick scale and the nutrient density. And the food that we're eating these days is actually really low in nutrient density. So maybe we could have a third of the amount of a different genetic that's really dense in nutrients grown in these ways, and actually get more nutrients out of it than 3 times as much of something we bought off the shelf in a big grocery store. So I think that we really need to relook at how we are looking at food systems, not just how we produce them, but what strains, what genetics, and what type of food that we're actually producing, and as well as how far we're shipping it. If we were to just all really shift our mindset into, let's just produce a little bit of food at home or in our yards where our lawns are, just a couple little garden beds, we could dramatically change how this whole food system and fossil fuels and health really of ourselves and our community, as well as morale. There's something really special about growing your own food and eating it that night at the dinner table. It's a really satisfying as well as healthy.
Well, I can't agree with you more. It's like, the difference between a tomato you grow in your backyard yourself versus what you buy in a supermarket. Even the best organic tomato in a supermarket, is still not the same. And when you think about that, just in relation to the conversation of cannabis, it's the same thing, in my mind. And when the key word that I love what you said was intention, the intention behind it all. But when things are all just about money, 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 and consumerism and capitalism, it changes the energy to your food, to your cannabis, to your medicine, to everything that you do. And that's what we talk about at Spirit Plant Medicine, is that connectedness to nature and, the ancient ways of being. Cannabis and hemp been around for, as long as history writes, it's there, it has a presence. So there's something to be said about that. So let's shift gears into the Unicorn Music Festival, because this is your big event this summer. It's coming up August 11th to 14th in Salmo, Rosebud Lake. And I love your tagline on your website, because it's Music.Nature.Community. And maybe you can just talk about what people can expect, what you're doing there, because you've got a great lineup of speakers and musicians and experiences. So Tell us more about that.
Yeah, it used to be called the Unicorn Cup, and we had to split this up because we had some issues with Health Canada and an animated logo, that being a unicorn in a cannabis event. So we split it into the Unicorn Music Festival and the Rosebud Bowl. But really, it's the same thing with two separate events happening at the same time. And so the Rosebud Bowl is happening within the Unicorn Festival or Music Festival. Part of that is supporting our community is actually a big part of it, a cornerstone. We've watched here in the Kootenays, cannabis is a huge part of our economy and the culture. And we've watched these people that literally risk their freedom to grow this plant lose that opportunity and have to go find jobs in other provinces. And it's a real struggle, and it really affects the whole community here, not just the cannabis growers, the economy and the morale. And so it inspired us to really try and do something about that. And what made the most sense is United We Stand, is to bring together this community and find ways to support each other through networking, bringing the excitement back, the passion back, and really to celebrate this plant, celebrate the medicinal aspects of it, but all the other ways it can contribute to improve the quality of our lives. And even beyond this plant, like we talked about food production, the music is a big part of it. I guess you could say the hub in the middle is sort of this improving people's quality of life. And the spokes, music is one of those spokes. Cannabis and the cannabis content and education is another one of those spokes. We have another stage we're really excited about called the Healing Hollow. That's focused on wellness, health and wellness, meditation, yoga, sound healing, these types of things. And so we're really trying to incorporate all these different things. Art, we have incredible artists coming this year. We're really excited about Simon I notice your background is one of them. We're super excited to have him here, and Jane, and he's going to do a Meta Grove presentation. But it's just another example of a spoke that all leads to that center hub, which is improving people's quality of life. And I think that's really the biggest differentiator we are from other traditional music festivals, is we're so much more than music. It's set on this beautiful lake here with eagles and loons and fishing and swimming. And it's a real vibe. Your phone turns off, which is a little scary at first, but after a little while, when you realize it's going to be okay, you have this sense of freedom that washes over you, where you really can now just focus on connecting to your neighbor, your community, enjoying nature, being present in the moment. The phone will be there 4 days later. When we go back, all the emails will be there, but it's just a break. And I think we've forgotten, and some of us have never lived in a time without that device attached to us. We're at the age, I think we remember a time when we had that freedom from that other reality. And so it's another reason that this is a very special vibe that happens here, is we can break away from that and really focus on working together in harmony, just like nature does.
Yeah, all I can think of is what a retreat, not just a festival, but a retreat to get away. And I love you. Unplug the phone. I've sat in circle and ceremonies and weekend retreats where it's always interesting to see how attached some people are to their devices. And the thought of having to give it up for even a day or an evening freaks people out. So I commend you on that initiative, because I think it's so important, and it gives us that ability to be more present, right? And then the fact that you've got wellness, I know you've got yoga during the day or in the mornings, the wellness factor, and then music. I believe music is one of those key components to life, and the dance. It's one thing to listen to music. It's another thing to listen and dance, to move and shake our body out and release that energy and bring more energy in. So I know I'm personally looking forward to that when I come there that weekend with the different music, because you talk about community and how we bring people together, and it's that oneness of all people from all different walks of life, all different, maybe values and belief systems, where we can all come together with common vision, common goal, and intention to learn, to heal, to grow, to be part of community, really makes a difference. And you know, I'm really excited about that, because it's one thing to just have an event that's a music festival and just turns into a big, you know, party, let's say. Yet when you add education and information and experience, that to me is always the best teacher. And what I see in your schedule and everything you put together is the way you've interwoven everything so that it can be a full-on experience of education, entertainment, fun, community. You know, it's really looks quite impressive.
Oh, thanks, Mark. I think look at history, and your viewers are well aware of this already. But when you look at history, we see that music, or really rhythm and beats, in combination with plant medicine, we can see as far back as we can look, and all these different indigenous groups all over the planet, and bringing ourselves to an altered state of consciousness, and then potentially accessing higher states of consciousness through those altered plant medicine and or meditation and yoga, or whoever it is each individual finds that place. And so really that's one of the reasons the music is so important here, is to create this vibe. And I keep coming back to the vibe, but there's this real sense of community, and that's why community is in our main line. It's really about connecting with each other, sharing respect, love, non-judgmental with the people around you. And it creates this real sense of freedom and security, where you don't have to be afraid to be yourself. You don't have to be afraid to say something that's different. A lot of us in the cannabis community as well are maybe black sheep or outliers. And so we spent a lot of our lives hiding in the basement or hiding on the mountainside with our plant, just doing what we love to do. And it really helped bring us all out of the closets, if you will, into this space where we don't have to hide anymore. We're amongst our peers in our community. And even if you're not into cannabis, you're probably feeling the vibe here and probably contributing to that collaborative, cooperative type experience that we're really proud to have captured. A lot of these other music festivals are great. I love them, but they seem to fall short. They end at music. And you know, you referenced really that holistic approach where we're trying to capture all those things and have the music as one of those spokes. With that said, we bring in artists, recognized, world-renowned artists, incredible artists. So as a standalone, the music festival side itself is a really professional event.
It's solid. Yeah, it's solid for sure.
You get to add all these other spokes to the hub, and that's what really makes us different, and something I really appreciate about this event.
Yeah, and I think oh, go ahead, Krystal.
Yeah, I think it also brings the ability for people who are attracted to the music realm and who really understand music as something they want to go and attend and be a part of. It actually allows them to have more information presented to them about spirit plant medicine, about the cannabis plant, and maybe they were curious, or maybe they had questions that they couldn't get answered in their own communities. And so they get to come together and have that authentic drop into themselves and say, hey, like, I have this question, or this is something I've wanted to try. And you have experts and you have people in that, you know, plant medicine space to go and have a conversation with and bring that into their own lives when they return home. And so I think that's a really good opportunity to meet somebody who's prepared to explore and experience something like, you know, plant medicines.
Yeah, well said. It's great to have a wonderful time, but to leave inspired is next level.
Well, absolutely. Well, you're speaking my language, because that's one of the purposes of my life, is just to inspire others to do something different, or, you know, that light bulb goes on, or a different thought. And this is what I love about what you're talking about is, you know, changing, first off, I think, perception of cannabis from what's been put on us for the past 100 years about it, you know, with education and experience. Because, hey, I smoke pot for pretty much my whole life. And it wasn't until the day that, you know, I thought, the first time I saw it with ayahuasca, one of my intentions was, well, it's for addictions, for all these things. Okay, I've got to quit smoking cannabis. And this is even before I got into spirit plant medicine with the organization, what I'm doing now, about 5 years ago. And it was interesting because what she showed me was, no, respect the plant. And I had this whole new realization of plants as teachers and plants as medicine. And I always thought biochemically, when it comes down to eating good organic food and different foods and fruits and vegetables, because that changes our biochemistry genetically more so than just eating the same old stuff. You've got 300, 400, 500 plants out there you can eat, that is great for you, that will change the way your body works and will release different genetic expressions. And when I learned about this from Aya and the mushroom, and I looked at cannabis completely different. It was to respect her, the feminine energy, the Santa Maria, and to look at it and treat her in a very different and intentional way. And Stephen Gray, who's the host of our conference and my partner in what we're doing as we create this every year, he leads cannabis ceremonies. And the first time I had cannabis ceremony, like, really, cannabis and spirituality, it never dawned on me until I had that experience where I sat in a safe, sacred space where we set the intention. And it was very, very psychoactive. It was very different going within, because for so many people, cannabis is so social. It's, hey, we're smoking a joint with people, right? With our friends and connecting. So it's a very outwardly thing. But when we take it and we go inside with her, wow, what powerful experiences. And these are the things that we want to share with people, that, it's not just dope, it's medicine. These plants are powerful, powerful. And we know that with research that we've seen from, just this CBD, CBG, the benefits of THC. We see it with, people with seizures, like, you name it, the list goes on. And I don't think we need to harp everything that it's good for. However, I think it's important that people know that it's not just about, weed for the sake of weed, which gets me to what I want you talked about, Shay, which is really important to myself and a number of people in our community when we talk about going legal, right? And the difference that you see in the Kootenays with the lifestyle, and how a lot of people who paved the way for legalization in Canada are now not able to, let's say, cash in. And I don't even like to say that from that perspective, but all of a sudden they're still the black sheep. They're still on the outside because of all these rules and regulations and, government mandates, how it needs to be done. So what would you say to people who are on that side wondering, what the heck do I do?
I'd say come to our event. It's a big part of what we're trying to do here is reduce barriers so that these people deserve to be with this plant can be with this plant again and make a living at it. And that word you used, cash, it's not that money is bad. It's what we do with it and our beliefs attached to it. And incredible things can be done with money. And I think one of the difference here we see in this community is that there's very few people caught in this materialistic loop where I'm going to be happy when I make 1 million. And then next, okay, I'm going to be happy when I make 10 million. And then 100 million. And you're just it's a dog chasing its tail, and you're never happy in the end anyway. And the people that are here just want to have a good life. They want to go kayaking. They want to take their kid to dinner on their birthday. They just want to live a happy, modest life. And so they're not trapped in this loop of giant money and power. And in my opinion, they're the ones most deserving to have that modest life and live in harmony with their community themselves and this plant. And so I would love them to come to the event. I would love them to be here and feel the vibe and realize that they're not alone and that there is a way to do this. Now, I'm one of the founders of a processor here called Antidote Processor. And the whole idea behind it is to service this community. So we actually provide licensing support. We potentially provide genetics. We buy the product at the end of the day for a fair price where everyone can make a living at it. And so we're trying to be vertically integrated, basically, because these growers are growers. 300-page document Health Canada application is not what they want to do or maybe capable of doing. They have green thumbs and they're good with this plant. And so if we can let them do what they want to do and help them with all the other parts, then I think it's really a win-win. And we can see this economy come back. We can see this morale come back in this community and beyond. You know, we have a program at Rosebud where we support micro growers, and it's still a little bit young in the early stages as we're all trying to, you know, reach a certain threshold of profitability. But it's a very similar idea. We give out our genetics, we support them with regenerative production methods. We don't say you're not allowed in our club because you don't grow regeneratively. We say, come on over, let us show you how to grow regeneratively. And then at the end of the day, we buy that product back and it goes into our product lines or our value added products. And that's where we make our couple $100, you know, and so we don't have to gouge the growers or the producers for that biomass. So there's some other examples here of how we're trying to create a win-win situation, bring this opportunity, this economy, and this plant back to our community and beyond.
Beautifully said. I love just your innovation and your willingness to share as well with other people so that they too can continue to do what they do really well, and that you've found some ways that you can make that work. I think it really speaks well to just the nature of your business and of course your character that is your business at the end of the day, in my opinion. Right. But it's a nice way of doing things where it's about inclusive. The world needs more unity. We need more peace. We need to come together. We don't need to be separated. And this plant can certainly do that. And because we know not just from, you know, the bud side of things, but like you talk about biomass, you know, what they can do with the stalks and the leaf and everything, that the plant can be used from root to tip, you know, and I think we need to really focus on that, because I know just if you think about paper alone, what you can get from hemp versus a tree for paper, and it grows back every year. That's the cool thing. Right.
And it also remediates the soil and helps Mother Nature come back into balance wherever you grow hemp. So it's a natural remediator for balancing, which is so important for all of the industrialization that we've done to Mother Earth, you know, that we need to reverse in some way. And hemp can help us do that. It actively is helping us do that. There are many cases now. Mm-hmm. So just utilizing that to heal Mother Earth as well as our own being.
Well, and you know, how much do people in the know? And for those who may not even be aware, you know, there's so much out there when it comes down to animal husbandry, farming, what they're doing in South America. And if you don't know, I'd say take a look. If you don't believe in global warming, just take a look around you. You don't have to call it anything you want, but take a look at what nature is doing. Take the labels away from it. Look at the weather patterns. Look at what's happening in all parts of the world. And that's an indication that we have to get back to nature, right?
Yeah.
And community, you know, community. And that's a big one. So, you know, and then throw in some music on that for a weekend retreat. I'm totally stoked. Tell me more about this, where this is at, because when I look at the schedule, you got the music going to the wee hours of the morning. So is that like your land? Is it, you know, there's no farmers around who are going to be upset, or are they all coming to the party?
Well, they're all coming, but we are about 2.5 or 3 kilometers away from the closest neighbor. So all the private land up at this lake, my family either owns or we lease. So we don't have to worry too much. It is spread out over several hundred acres, which means you should probably bring a bike or scooter. But it also means there's lots to check out and lots to explore. Our second stage we added this year is actually a floating stage, which is pretty neat. Just the way that acoustics bounce or reverberate off the water is something really special. And so we have our second stage is unplugged. It's acoustic only. We have everything from pan flute, didgeridoo, you know, different world instruments and singers and guitar. And it's set at an area we call the Unicorn Meadow. And we have a dab bus there, which is a really awesome food truck that one of our friends and micro growers comes and takes care of. We have a cultural camp. We have Indigenous groups from all over coming to be part of that cultural camp, and they'll be staying in teepees and sharing culture with the rest of us. We're really excited about that. And then all this overlooks the water where this floating stage is happening. That stage runs from noon till about 6. So it's a great place to just chill out, suntan. It's quite a vibe. Just relax, go swimming. Then later in the evening, when the talks end on the main stage, which is about 5 or 6, the music starts on the main stage. And we start with more bands, world music. We've got Monkey Dragon, which is a bunch of different instruments, and a few other bands, really diverse instrument sections. One of the members from a band called Moon Tricks, Sean Rodman, will be coming. He does a lot of cover of a lot of their tunes as well. And then later in the night, when us older folks, maybe or maybe not, retreat back to our tents, a different style of music comes on, which is more electronic music. And that runs from about midnight till 11 till 6 a.m. till the sun comes up.
I love it. Well, certainly everybody's going to get their fill of whatever it is they're coming there to really experience, I think. And I could only imagine the great vendors you're going to have there as well. You're probably going to have a lot of, great things people can peruse. I always love the vendor markets at any festival or anywhere where I go, because there's all sorts of neat things. And you mentioned the background of my image, Simon Hayduke, and I'll thank him for the introduction as well, because I guess he put us in touch. He's just been a great supporter of our Spirit Plant Medicine Conference as long as I've been around. He's our art gallery curator, is how I like to define him, because his art is fantastic, and his experience with his art and his animated art and music is nothing but a must see. So I think it's a great, it's going to be a great experience to see it outdoors. I'm looking forward to that as the festival progresses. And yeah, you guys, I'm excited. I'm almost at a loss for words, because I think there's so much to talk about, yet I'd rather experience it. And then that's why I look forward to coming in and meeting you physically in person and seeing the work you're doing and experiencing the work. Now, is there anything else you want to share with anybody who might be watching, just, about your mission, your purpose, the festival? Anything you want to share specifically that you think is important for people to know?
Just, I keep seeing spirit in the background there. And of course, that's a really important thing to you and me as well, and really this community. And I think I go so far as to say this plant has a very powerful, cannabis has a very powerful spirit, and it has an agenda. It has its own intentions. And in my opinion, from spending my whole life with this plant, its intentions are to help heal us, help us reconnect with ourselves, reconnect with our community, reconnect with nature, and live in harmony and balance. And you talked about division earlier. We're living in this extreme division, and many of us forget about the spirit of this earth, of these plants. And so I'm incredibly honored and privileged to be in the middle, to be the middleman of the plant and the patients, and be able to help bridge that gap and really give the plant what it wants, what its intentions are. And because of that, I feel the plant is supporting me. It's supporting us and supporting all of this. And that plant is part of nature. And as if we have all of nature backing us because of our intentions and because of our respect to this plant. And I'm really fortunate for that. And I'm really excited to inspire other people and to maybe be a catalyst in their life when they come here and feel that and connect with that as well.
Beautifully said. And that's why I encourage people, if you're interested in what Che's doing there, watch that video. It's in the, I put a link in the comments, or wherever you're watching on social media, there is a link there, because it's beautifully brilliant. And in watching that, based on what you just said, I could just see you, you are tapped into nature so much, because your stuff is outdoors, it's in the ground, and it's like, say, it's not just one plant. You're getting that mycelial connection, and the network of all of nature supporting you in what you're doing. And I just want to honor and acknowledge that, because I think what we need in the world is, more messengers like yourself, and yourself as well, Krystal, where the plant is a teacher, there is a spirit to the plant. It's not just a bunch of people smoking and getting high, and it's about changing that perception that there are many, many beautiful facets of this plant that will help bring us all together. And, you know, from a community perspective, that's really important. But the medical side of things and what it's done for people medicinally throughout history, we can look throughout history books, you know, and it's been around for the beginning of time, that, you know, we start really looking at that. And the more we can get back to nature, back to community, music, dancing, you know, the dancing I think is huge. You know, I saw a friend the other day. It was a great event, but it's like, hey man, like, let's dance. You know, and people get stuck in their body. And when you talk about everything, you know, you mentioned, you used the word vibes a number of times, Jay, and I think it's true, because everything's our vibration, and one of the ways to move and change our vibration is to change how we use our body, you know, and that dancing and that music, and then, you know, nothing but awesome cannabis and great food. Wow, what an experience. I'm really looking forward to that. So when is the Unicorn Music Festival, gang? Tell us when and where. This is your time. Like, tell us where we have to be and when.
So yeah, the Unicorn Music Festival is held in Salmo, BC. It's about an hour north of Nelson in the Kootenays. And it is August 11th through the 14th of this year. So 3 quick weeks away. And we'll be gathering for the 3 full days. Friday is a full schedule, as well as Saturday and Sunday. And then Monday is for just lakeside enjoyment. And yeah, we're gathering all of the best and the finest, I believe, of the medicine people in BC and the cannabis people in BC and the educators across Canada, actually, to come to this event. So come and bring your consciousness and your authenticity and a good conversation to have with others. That'll all be welcomed in the space.
Fantastic. And I love it. It's an alcohol-free event. That's cool,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah,
just wanted
it's
to
just
throw that out there because I think that's awesome.
Yeah, we're
And
Canada-centric.
yeah, and I also noted that it was no children as well, right? Because of the nature of the event being quite cannabis focused. So I just wanted to throw that out there to let people know that, you know, those are the two things to be aware of. But beautifully said, and I think that I know it's going to be a great weekend. I look forward to be there, and I'm honored and touched and privileged to be able to be on a panel with our friends from Spirit Plant Medicine, being Simon and Jane and Josh and Kelly as well. So we'll have some great conversations and great connections, great community building, and fantastic experiences. But
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Mark.
Yeah, hey, I'm like I say, it's a highlight of my summer. I'm looking forward to it, and it's just one of those things. If anybody's interested in a really great retreat, festival, conference like weekend, it's going to be fantastic. And I just encourage everybody to come and join us if you're interested. And that's unicornmf.ca, I believe, is the website.
It's actually the Unicorn. It's
Sorry,
the Unicorn MF. Yeah.
the unicornmf.ca, but the links are down below wherever you're watching this. The link is somewhere in the description or the write-up, wherever that is, it's there. But come and meet Che and Krystal and the team and like-minded cannabis people. This is a great place to come and learn everything you didn't know about cannabis. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining us, Che. Thanks for joining us, Krystal. And I look forward to seeing you in a few weeks.
Thanks,
so
Mark.
much, Mark. Much love. Take care.
Yeah. Bye now.
Oh.